Preview.
So, Ron, when a company decides to go public, what are the phases of that process? Can you just walk us through kind of when a company's considering going public? What do they do? How do they go about it? Who are they talking to? Who helps them through the process? I mean, do they get investment bankers involved? Do they get, when do they start talking to their auditors? When do they actually hire consultants? Like, how does that whole process work from beginning to end? Can you just kind of lay that out for us?
Sure. From the beginning, like you mentioned, 3 phases, and when do they get people involved? At the very beginning, when they're deciding to do that, that's really when it makes the most sense to bring in consultants. Again, this company is private, has never done any, SEC reporting. They probably haven't prepared a really robust set of financial statements. So bringing in those consultants to get ready for that audit prep, that's a huge process. So the pre-stage of just, figuring out what do we have, what do we need to get to. And then obviously they're talking to getting their external auditors involved. Yes, an investment banker, right? They got to start talking to them and like, what's the best path to go forward? And then as they go through, I think they start thinking about the implementation, and I think as Ryan mentioned earlier, it's, do they have the right ERP system? Is it robust enough to do their, future financial reporting? And then just thinking about once they do go public, what are all those requirements after? So that 3rd phase is, and still they probably, it's good to still have consultants and advisors involved that will help them with that post IPO phase to really get them, 100% ready and being able to file timely, and that they, they may not have all the right people involved yet. Like they may not have thought about all the, officers or accounting people, personnel that they need. And so that's something they'll be thinking about as they go through that public timeline.
Yeah, and I think I would add to that I've seen mistakes in the private to public path as people think about, is this is something we're doing in the future? But there's a huge historical lift, an element to this, in that even companies that have reported, and had external audits for past years, they've done that on an annual basis, not a quarterly basis. And to get out your financial statements, you're going to have to report a Q in addition to a K. You're going to need quarter over quarter presentation as well. So to be able to go back and take a prior period to quarterize that period, at least 1 year, maybe 2, is a lot of work. And again, it gets back to the idea of, was the reporting there? How do you get an auditor back through those reviews comfortably, while also trying to look forward and do everything you need to do prospectively to move forward to your IPO?
Yeah, because I mean, that's once you become public, I mean, you have SEC reporting, and then you also are providing guidance about forecasting, right? And as a private company, you might not have been involved in forecasting your business, on a quarterly basis. You might have just done a budget at the beginning of the year and just let it run and compare to budget. So you have to get some forecasting capability in there. Talk to me about what that looks like when consultants come in and help. Hey, we got to get a process in place to do SEC reporting. Got to get a process in place to do forecasting. Who are you working with in the organization, Ryan, to develop those metrics and make sure that you have a regular cadence?
Yeah, it changes everything. Timeliness becomes more important, right? You're now beholden to SEC reporting guidelines after a quarter, after a year end. It really shines a light on not just the CFO, but the controller in the close process. How quickly can you close? Are there things you can do in that process to accelerate the process to be able to report timely and accurately? Involves FP&A. It really involves in all the business, right? Who are the stakeholders within the business that can answer questions? So in some cases those processes exist, but are you an organization that's able to do all of those things timely and efficiently to meet SEC reporting deadlines?
Yeah, Rhonda, so like if a company's reporting quarterly results and they're a publicly traded company, how quickly do they need to close to be able to hit those timelines and be able to get their financials out?
Right. So the quarterly financials are due 45 days, after the period end, and 60 days for their, for their K. So those are really tight deadlines. And, a lot of companies struggle with, in order to meet that deadline, they need to be able to close their books, let's say 8 to 10 days after a period end, right? Because then it's about reviewing all your results and then writing and getting your financial statement put together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting process. And I think it really is a game changer for the business. And they're in a period of transition from a private company to the public requirements.